I'm Ashley,
And I'm Jasmin.
and you're tuned into Ham Radio Stranger Things podcast.
It's a ham radio.
The Cadillac of ham radios.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to yet another episode of Ham Radio Stranger Things podcast. Today, we're going to be playing some Stranger Things trivia. We also are going to be talking about the effects of the current writer strike on season 5 production, a marketing mix-up from Netflix France's Twitter account. We got some new content from the Stranger Things stage play, and we respond to a listener email. But first, we've got a little housekeeping to take care of. We gotta let where you can find us and where you can listen to the podcast. And Jasmin is going to let you guys in on where you can do that.
Thanks, Ashley. You can find us on Instagram at ham.radio.media, on Twitter at hamthrough, on YouTube at hamradiomedia or at hamradio1983. That's our handle. We also have a Discord, the link for which will be in the description for this episode. You can email us at hamradiomedia@gmail.com. As you'll hear later in this episode, we do respond to listener emails live on the air. So if you email us, you will most likely be featured, so be sure to check that out. Ashley has a fanfic on AO3 called Stranger Things, The College Years, so be sure to check that out. The podcast is available on all major podcasting platforms. Please consider leaving us a review and a rating. It really helps us out a lot. We have a lot of Totally Too Blue stuff coming up, so please follow us on our socials to keep up with the podcast and all of our new content.
Thank you, Jasmin. First, before we dive into some trivia, we are going to be, I'm going to be reading the email from one of our listeners named Corey. Corey writes, hello to everyone at Ham Radio Podcast. I hope you're doing well. My name is Corey, and I've recently started listening to your podcast. I enjoy it, and I love your discussions on Vecna and the lore of Stranger Things. If you accept requests, I'd love to hear Ashley and Jasmin dive deep into more discussion on the lore and Vecna. Thank you, Corey. Jasmin and I will certainly be doing that, as many of our listeners know, and Corey, you probably do as well. I love talking about the lore of the show, especially now that we're getting into the end game, where the lore is becoming a little bit more prevalent than it maybe has in the past. So Corey continues, I have a few questions for you. Corey wants to know, who's your favorite character? How do you feel about the 2-day time jump in the season finale? What do you make of the spoilers and leaks already in circulation? And will you be covering filming once it begins? Corey ends by saying, keep up the good work. And sincerely, Corey. Thanks again, Corey, for your email. We always love it when we get emails from you guys because, it's really fun to interact with you and, answer your questions. So I'll go first, answering Corey's questions, and then Jasmin will give her take on them. So my favorite character, this may surprise everyone, but I don't know, Jasmin, you may not be very surprised. I'll have to say, like, my favorite character, really and truly, is Dr. Martin Brenner. Like, no joke. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. No, I even though I really love 11, I'd have to say that my top character who just grows on me every season is Nancy. Like, I love, how she's like Miss Nancy Drew, always investigating stuff, and yeah, she can come off a little bit strong initially, but she over the course of the season, you see her once she starts really going, she really pulls through and gets the job done. So Nancy is definitely my favorite character from the show. My thoughts on the 2-day time jump. I mean, I'm not gonna sit here and trash it. I mean, I thought it could have been done a little bit better. I feel like the biggest problem with it is not the time jump itself. It's the fact that that episode was so bloated, a lot of parts in the beginning, that by the end of it they're just like, we just want to hurry up and like, get this season done. We want to hurry up and get this episode done. So that's probably the thing that I wish they didn't do. But it's like, as our producer and my good friend Brendan told me after he watched the finale episode for the first time, he was like, the big thing they were going for there, right? And I was like, no, what? And he said, the last 10 minutes of the episode were the epic remix of the Stranger Things theme song and them all coming together and watching, the ash fall from the sky. And we know that Vecna's plan actually did come to fruition. And the two worlds are becoming one. He's like, that was like their modus operandi for this time jump. Like, and you can tell, and I have to agree, like, you can definitely see how that plays out. But yeah, overall, I thought it was appropriate. Also heard too about, people being upset that there wasn't a post credit scene, and I actually think it was wise of them not to put one in there, because if they have planned for a time jump or something like that in season 5, they're really going to write themselves into a corner by doing a post credit scene of something that they have to, back up next season. So I actually thought that was wise, just to end it on an epic shot of them up on the hillside, looking over at everything, merging and all that. The spoilers and leaks, I personally think they're fake. I do know that there are people out there that have legitimate access to leaks and spoilers. You can go on Reddit and see leaks from season 4 that actually, about stuff that actually did come to pass. But here at Ham Radio, even if a spoiler or a leak is legit, we're not going to be posting that. We're not going to talk about that, because that's a pretty crappy thing to do, in my opinion. I don't look at them. Jasmin, I don't know if she does. She's never said anything. So yeah, we won't be talking about that, but I wouldn't believe everything that I see on the internet. That's for sure. If someone screams, we have spoilers, and then you look at them. I think in this case, if you don't say anything about the lore, probably not. It's, probably clickbait. And yes, we will be covering filming whenever. We probably won't be posting set pics, because again, not everyone wants to see those. But we will be talking about the little tidbits of filming and stuff once it begins. And Jasmine, would you like to take the mic?
For sure. Oh man, got some good questions there, Corey. Who's my favorite character? I'd have to say, hands down, Steve Harrington. I'm a big Steve Harrington fan. First of all, he's hot, amazing hair. But more importantly than that, I think Joe Carey does an amazing job portraying him, and I really love his evolution. Like, he's the character who's probably changed the most and has the most character development, and I love his evolution from stereotypical 80s jock to who he is now, so much more of a complex and nuanced and developed character. I just love that so much. I'd say Nancy is a close second, but Ashley already talked about that, so I won't repeat what she said. But yeah, hands down, Steve Harrington all the way. How do I feel about the 2-day time jump in the season finale? I don't like it either. I get what they were going for, that like the lead up was that epic shot at the end, which I love. But as other people have commented on, in order to get there, instead of skipping 2 days, there was definitely stuff throughout the season that they could have either sped up or skipped over or condensed in some way, particularly with the Russia and Nevada/California plots. I mean, I feel like the tightest, most succinct storylines in the season were Hawkins and Elle in Nevada. So they definitely could have sped up, condensed, or skipped over things in the California and Russia plots. And then instead of having a 2-day time jump, showed us that time instead, which I think would have been a lot better, because it just leaves so many open, unanswered questions at the end of the season. And like, it was a great payoff with that scene, but if the plots had been super succinct and every moment had felt earned, you still would have been mad about the 2-day time jump, but it wouldn't have felt the same. Whereas, because there were definitely parts that's like, okay, nothing's really happening here. or we could we could definitely speed this up some. How it felt a little bit bloated. When you get to that 2-day time jump, you're like, what do you mean we skipped 2 days? So yeah, I was not a fan of the 2-day time jump. What do I think about the spoilers slash leaks on circulation? Likely, I don't put much stock into them. I'm sure there is some real information out there, but a lot of it's so fan informed or people just starting stuff that I don't really pay attention to much of that because I don't think it's real, and it kind of spoils the fun of it. So I'm not really paying much attention to it. Will we be covering filming when it begins? Yes, we will. As she said, and he commented on, we'll be covering, non-spoiler things, you know what I mean? So, there happens to be a clip of, somebody running out of a library, or do you know what I mean? Like general things like that, where it's like, oh, these two characters might team up. Like, I don't consider that a spoiler, but we won't be posting photos or videos or doing anything too spoiler heavy, because a lot of people don't want to be spoiled. We ourselves pretty much avoid spoilers since we don't know what's real and what's not. So we'll be covering, yes, we'll be covering filming and kind of general updates that we get, but not getting too much into spoiler territory.
Yeah, and real quick before we move on, just to add a little bit to what Jasmine was saying there about the spoilers and the leaks, I think a good way that you can tell if one is legit or not is if you go back and look, especially on Twitter, and if it says that their account has been blocked or deleted after they make a post proclaiming that they have spoilers and leaks, then that's usually a good indication that, they really did get some sort of information and they don't want anyone to see it, then and that has happened. So you just gotta be very careful when you're online, and definitely don't listen to Noah Schnapp because he I also don't take what he says at face value either. So thank you again for your email, Corey. We'll definitely get on those lore and Vecna episodes in the very, very, very near future. So hopefully you'll be on the lookout for those, and send in your feedback on that. So we're gonna move into something we kind of touched on a little bit, the writer's strike, and like we're not really gonna talk in depth about what the strike is and what it's about. I think it's pretty self-explanatory, and also, we don't like to get very political on the show, and this is definitely something you can't really bring in politics into it. But what we are going to talk just a little bit about is something that I think has been weighing very heavy on a lot of fan bases' mind. Is something like how will this affect filming for season 5? And I think a big question, at least that I had, was should we even be concerned about a significant delay in filming due to the strike? And I'm probably gonna say I don't really think we should be really concerned. I mean, yeah, it's disappointing, but look, at the end of the day, we don't really even know really when exactly they were going to begin filming anyway. So, and two, to me, like, the Duffer Brothers made the decision to not, to delay filming. It's not something they had to do, even though they are a member of the members of the WGA. I've been told like that's a decision that was totally up to them. So I feel like if they knew that this was going to really delay filming, they probably wouldn't have. I mean, I'm sure they would have stood in solidarity. I don't think they would have been like, "Yep, we're gonna halt filming." But I do think there is a silver lining in this. At least we know that the scripts have been written. But as Jasmine and I have learned by doing our script breakdown episodes, is that yeah, the writing really does not end when filming begins, because that those scripts will be revised like 7 times and really won't be finalized until we're watching it on our screens. So yeah, it's disappointing, but I don't think it's we should be like really, really concerned about it in terms of having a significant delay. Jasmine, what do you think?
I mean, I think we should be a little bit concerned in the sense that, like the writers account has put out stuff about how like it is delaying filming. And I saw, but I don't know if you've been following the signs that people have been making with writer's strike, like this physical like signs, like the picket signs that they have. But there's one going around being like, like pay us more, Steve Harrington is toast. Um, so I mean, I think we should be a little bit concerned with the fact that like it clearly is affecting production, and that like if it doesn't, I'd say if the strike doesn't end soon, they plan from what we know, it looks like they plan to start this summer. We've heard if it doesn't get resolved soon, like that could affect production. But if the strike wraps up soon, I don't think it's going to have a huge impact. So I think for me, it depends how long the strike lasts. If this strike drags on and on and on, eventually it will start to have an impact. But if it's not the case, then I mean, I think it might cause a little bit of delay, but it wouldn't be something to super worry about. I would say it depends on how long the strike lasts, whether or not we need to actually be concerned.
Yeah, and I agree with that. Which and two, like the way they filmed the show anyway. I mean, it takes time to film it regardless, and it seems like they really enjoyed how they wrote and filmed season 4, and it seems like they're gonna do a repeat of that with season 5. So either way, and especially like I can imagine the special effects that are going to go into season 5, like the post production is going to take like, a long time. So I mean, it's going to be a while either way, but hopefully both sides can come to an agreement, and so that not only Stranger Things but other productions that have been halted or delayed can start back soon. Which speaking of rumors and production or not, sometime last week Netflix France's Twitter account decided to post in French. It's basically season 5 is in production, and of course everyone was like flocked to that and was like, "Really? I thought the strike was going on." And the Stranger Writers account came in clutch and like, "Yeah, no, we're still on strike. Like that's that's not true." And so there was definitely some miscommunication on someone's part over there at the Netflix France's offices. Probably a summer intern or something, did that. Probably lost their jobs too. Jasmine, you have any thoughts on that?
I just thought it was funny because like the stranger writers were like, "Aren't you guys on strike all the time?" Like, it's like for all accounts, they get it wrong, and it's so true. Like we joke, but like France has some of the most, like some of the happiest workers. Like they're on strike often, but they have like the most vacation days, the most holidays. So like kudos to France for striking regularly. Like it's got them so many things that I wish we had. So that's not a dig at France. Like it's I wish protest here was more common so we have all those things. But it was funny that for a country that like strikes so often that there's like apps and maps you can look at of like where strikes are going on to like plan your commute and stuff, that they would get that wrong, that they would put out a message saying that season 5 of Stranger Things is in production. My guess is that they had it saved and somebody hit push instead of save. And my guess would be, as someone who does work in social media for a living, that like when you're working with Hootsuite or one of the other apps, you can, save or publish or schedule, and some probably a new employee or an intern or something hit the wrong button and then nobody caught it. That would be my guess. Because I don't think somebody went in and like manually did that. They probably hit the wrong button. Um, because we know that like filming was supposed to commence at some point, in the next few months. So that would be my take on it. It was kind of amusing. Somebody, yeah, somebody probably lost their job or got shuffled somewhere else, or yeah, there was probably some fallout for that. 'Cause, you know, as you put in the script notes, Netflix France shoves foot in mouth. I think is a very accurate description of what happened there.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, I thought it would be. I thought you would get a kick out of that too. Uh, but yeah, I think it's just an honest mistake that unfortunately happened, for the whole world to see. Like you or I, Jasmine, do something like that. I mean, yeah, it's a little bit embarrassing, but you don't become like the laughing stock of the internet within a few seconds. So I definitely hope that no one lost their job over that, and that it was just they had a good laugh about it, and you know took it with a grain of salt. So now we are going to get into the precipice for today's episodes, and that is Stranger Things trivia. Jasmine, would you like to tell the good people what they can expect from this trivia game? And it's also here, I hear through the grapevine, interactive.
Yes, absolutely. I love your game show-esque introduction there. I love it. So for our trivia today, for this segment, we'll each read a trivia question along with some background information, and then we'll pause for a beat to give the other person and our listeners a chance to think, and then we'll answer the question. Be sure to keep track of your answers and comment on the Twitter or Instagram post for this episode with your score. We've got some fun wow, I'm gonna redo that sentence. We've got some fun giveaways coming up, so this will be good practice.
Yes, it will. It will. You don't want to let those giveaways go to waste, folks. So please do us a favor and comment your answers to our trivia questions. So, Jasmine, would you like to go first with your questions?
Sure, I suppose we can alternate. I think we have about 20 questions. Do I have that right, Ashley?
Yes, I went with metaphorical, and I have 11 questions. I could not resist.
Oh, that's good. Alrighty. Well, we'll start it off with my first question. And here we go. So, Vicky's look in season 4 was based off of 80s icon Molly Ringwald and her looks in Pretty in Pink and 16 Candles in particular. When head hair designer Sarah Hinsgall, sorry, I mispronounced that, Hinsgall, was looking for the right shade to dye Amy Beth McNulty's wig, she sent photos from 16 Candles to her wig maker, Robert Pickens. As fate would have it, Ringwald herself wound up stopping by for a wig fitting a few days later. When they told her what they were trying to do, she was very excited and gave them the exact color that she used to dye her hair back in the 80s so the wig would match perfectly. As luck would have it, they still made the color. So here comes the question. What is that color called?
Well, this is a really tough one.
Okay.
Because,
so,
I'm not a hairstylist, Jasmine.
All right,
Okay.
well, we got some options, so we're not leaving you hanging.
Oh, good. It's multiple choice.
Multiple choice, yes. I realized I
Okay.
should have done the beat after the multiple choice. I did the beat and I'm like, nope, I didn't give you the options. Well, we're not game show professionals, people. What can we say? Okay. Ready for the options?
Yes.
Okay. So, is it A, coral red, B, firefly red, C, brick red, or D, cherry red?
I'm going to go with A, coral red.
Alrighty. Those playing along at home, the answer is actually B, firefly red.
Oh, I was
So
very
close.
close. I
Close,
was like,
but not cigar.
I know. I was like, well, I knew it really couldn't have been like brick or cherry because those are too dark. I knew coral was lighter, and I always thought fireflies were orange. So,
Well, I don't name the colors, so I mean, I think you're right. Fireflies, I think, are probably closer to orange, but that is what the
well,
color is called.
before I knew it was multiple choice, I was just gonna say red.
It is red. It is
Red
red.
with the mixture of a little orange.
Yeah. Alrighty. So, do you want to go to the next question?
Yes. So I have all my questions categorized by we got some short answer, we got some multiple choice, and then I ended up with some true or false questions. I wanted a good mixed bag, and these are like did not do quite as much research as Jasmine did. But I can give you guys a little bit of background about, where the question is coming from, and all that good stuff. So, my first question is, so, we all know that Dustin, at least in the first 3 seasons, I can't remember. Yeah, it was in season 4. Anyway, we know that Dustin has a pet turtle, which I still cannot believe is alive, even after Dart was, in his room and Pet Dart did not try to kill his fellow reptile, but this is a short answer question, by the way. So my question is, what is the name of Dustin's pet turtle?
The name of his pet turtle? Oh,
Yes.
that is a good question. Okay, well, he names D'Artagnan. Oh, he says the name. Oh, I should know that. He says the name when he gets back from camp in season 2. The cat called Muse. The artist called D'Artagnan. I want to say it's another musketeer, or I feel like it's, I don't know, I feel like it's got to be like Michelangelo or something like that. Oh, not that he was a musketeer. I don't mean like that. That's kind of what's coming to mind for me. Can you give me a clue? What letter does it start with?
A Y.
Why? I can't think of anything that starts with Y. Okay, yeah, I cannot think of the answer. Okay, what's the name of his pet turtle?
His pet turtle is named Yertle the turtle. Is named
No.
after the Dr. Seuss book of the same name. And Yertle is the king of the pond, and he stands on his subjects in an attempt to reach higher than the moon until the bottom turtle burps and he falls in the mud, ending his rule. It's a very cute yet interesting name for a turtle, which I always thought was Myrtle until I looked it up just to verify that it was Yertle.
All right, well, I got that one wrong. So if anybody out there got that one right, hats off to you because
Well, we're both tied.
we're both tied. This is true. Oh, alrighty. Time for the next question. And all of mine are multiple choice. I'm giving you some little hints. Alrighty, you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. So, as has been well documented, the character of Steve Harrington was originally very different. In the original script, he was much more of your typical high school bully and was much more abusive. However, due to Joe Carey's performance, the character was rewritten into the Steve we know today. Carey originally auditioned for the role of Jonathan, but later received a callback for the role of Steve, and it said that originally his character was much more like the jerky boyfriend from Pretty in Pink. Question: what is the name of that character? Is it A, Stefan, B, Steve, C, Steph, or D, Scott?
I think it's D.
It is C, Steph.
I haven't watched that in a long time. And I knew the Steve thing. That was a trick. That was a trick answer. Because I was going like, Steve?
Yeah, it's hard because I had to look it up too, and like you'd expect him to have a more normal name, but yeah, no, his name is Steph, spelled Steff.
Oh,
And it's not a
okay.
nickname, apparently.
That's
It's
unusual.
literally his name is Steph.
Okay.
So for all you John Hughes fans out there, there's a bit of both Stranger Things and John Hughes trivia. So you're welcome. And if you got that one right, congratulations.
All right. Ready for the next question? Okay. This is another short answer. So, we all know that Dustin's girlfriend, little Susie Pooh, is a Mormon, and very apparently a very devout Mormon, and so are her family, except for an older sister. But the question is, what state does Susie live in?
Oh, Utah. She lives in Utah.
Yes. Okay, you're one up on me.
I only know that because Mormons are famous for living in Salt Lake City, Utah. I don't know if she actually lives in Salt Lake. I don't know if they established that, but they say she does live in Utah, which is famous for having a ton of Mormons. So that's the
Yes.
only reason I know that.
All right.
Oh, alrighty. So actually, have you been keeping? I guess it's 1-0, right? Is that the score? I should be keeping track of this.
Yes, because I haven't gotten any right so
Okay.
far.
Okay, let me just. I should have been keeping track of this. All right, here we go. I'm telling you all to keep track at home, and then I forgot to keep track myself. Okay, 1 point to me. All right, we're keeping score. Okay, are you ready for the next question?
Let's do it.
All right. The subtitles in season 4 have been lauded for both their creativity and immersiveness. Not only do the subtitles describe exactly the sound we're hearing at that moment, but they're also, let's face it, fun to read. Jeff T. and the aptly named Carly Webster are the geniuses behind these beloved descriptions. Question: which of the following descriptions does not, I repeat, not appear in season 4? A. Wet squelching. B. Eldritch thrumming. C. Dissonant gibbering. Or D. Carrying emotional music.
Is it C?
Incorrect. It is D.
Oh my gosh. I should have known. Well, I don't watch the subtitles because it distracts me. I can't watch them at the same time. So the only reason I knew uh like the wet squelching one and the Eldritch Noise one is because I've heard it on like different podcasts talking about it. That's the only reason that I know about that.
So for those of you listening at home, there was actually a bit of a trick question because tender emotional music is a subtitle that does appear, but it's
Oh,
tender emotional music, not carrying emotional music. So for those
can I at least get
subtitle
half credit for that?
okay, we can give her a half point. I think we can give Ashley a half point for that.
Thanks.
She get a 0.5, little 0.5 there. So a bit of a trick question for all you subtitle aficionados out there.
Well, I can definitely tell you, like, you guys, that my multiple choice questions are much harder than my short answer questions. So, we will see, what the score is by the time we get there. All right, so this question is my final short answer question, and Jasmine, this one might hit a little close to home, but Steve very well known for his using a nail bat in seasons 1 and 2. Didn't see it in season 3 or season 4, unfortunately. So hopefully it makes a comeback in season 5. Since they're bringing everything, back full circle to season 1. So the question is, who made, again, I repeat, made the nail bat that Steve used in seasons 1 and 2?
Okay, I know the answer to this. So it's actually a multi-part answer because the bat itself originally belongs to Nancy, and she tells Steve that she's thinking of trying out for baseball or softball or something like that. But it's Jonathan who nails the bats, or not the bats, nails the nails into the bat, and it becomes the spiky bat. And he drops it during the fight, and Steve picks it up. So the bat belonged to Nancy. They both bought the nails, and then Jonathan nailed the nails into it. So technically belonged to Nancy, but was created by Jonathan.
Yes, correct on all fronts. And I included that question because it secretly drives me nuts when I hear people give Steve all the credit for the snail bat. I'm like, yeah, he used it and it was super cool, but he did not nail the nails in the bat. It was not his bat. He did not provide this bat. It was Jonathan and Nancy's plan to use this thing all along. But again, Jonathan dropped it, and Steve comes in clutch and uses it and saves the day. So I feel like I had to throw that one in there to set a little record straight, if I may. I thought I'd use it, be creative and use it in trivia.
Hey, we're all about setting the record straight here at Ham Radio. So come here for come for the trivia, stay for the facts. That's what I'm saying. Alrighty, are you ready for the next question?
I am.
All right, here we go. The blonde wig and pink dress Eleven wore in season 1 while hiding in plain sight have become iconic. Not many people know this, but the blonde wig that Eleven wears actually has more of a backstory than most people realize. As it turns out, the wig originally belonged to Mike's grandmother, who passed away from cancer, which is why the wig is so expensive and nice looking. The hair department tried over 250 cheap wigs for Eleven, but decided there was no way the entirety of Hawkins Middle School was going to believe that any of them were her real hair. As a result, an entire backstory was created about the wig to explain this. Question: how much did the wig cost? Was it A, $8,000, B, $2,000, C, $6,000, D, $900?
Are we talking in terms of like a 2016 budget here, or are we
Yeah, this would have
talking?
been the budget. This would have been the 2015, 2016 budget when the show was filmed.
Okay,
Season one would have been filmed.
okay. So I feel like $900 would be an 80s, more of an 80s price before, inflation. Feel like it's either B or C. I'm gonna go with B.
And that is incorrect.
What?
It was A. The wig cost $8,000.
What? I'm
Mhm.
so close, Jasmine. I'm so close. I can feel it. I can feel it. But at least I knew to account for inflation, and I knew it
You
wasn't
did. You did account for inflation.
okay.
The story on this one is that like they tried so many cheap wigs, and of course cheap wigs are synthetic. They haven't outright said this, but I imagine an $8,000 wig is probably real human hair. I would imagine it is for eight
Yeah,
thousand dollars. And especially since they said it was a cancer, like this backstory is that it was a cancer wig, which are typically made out of real human hair. I would imagine that's probably why, like, they tried a bunch of synthetic wigs and none of it worked. Um, so yeah, I mean, your answers were good. I mean, you said B or C, and C was $6,000. So I mean, that was a good guess. You accounted for inflation. It was just like a really, 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 really expensive wig. And at the time when season one came out, it was this huge, not controversy, but people were talking about it because there's that meme that goes around where they're like, the most unrealistic thing about Stranger Things is that we're expected to believe that like three middle school age boys made a girl like look this good with no experience, like a costume wig and a dress. But if you
yeah,
actually look into the backstory is it's a cancer wig, which means it's higher quality. The dress and the makeup belong to Nancy, and the Willers have money, so this is like she's wearing like high quality stuff that belongs to like
yeah.
Nancy, her grandmother, possibly Karen. Um,
She's
so
got some
it's high quality stuff,
rouge.
people.
She's got
It's got the
rouge.
rouge. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah. Yeah. That's crazy. That's a lot of money. I mean, like it's probably worth a lot more now too
Oh
because
yeah.
it's now it's famous. People pay you wouldn't believe it. People would probably spend to buy that wig because Millie Bobby Brown wore it and it was in the show. It's crazy. So this is my first multiple choice question. So we know that the Creel House was a very integral part of season four, especially in the Hawkins storyline. So the question is, what is on the stained glass door of the Creel House, like the front door? Is it a bird, B, a red rose, C, the crucifixion of Jesus Christ, or D, a daisy?
That would be B, a red rose.
Correct. I think that's like probably one of the coolest things of the show in season four was the door, and we don't have nearly enough time to get into it tonight, but I would encourage everyone to keep a lookout, when you're watching season four about that door because it's very, I think, very important because in Vecna's mind world, it's like the only thing that's not broken besides the clock. So it's very interesting.
That's interesting. I hadn't thought about that. That it's the only not broken thing. So like I've thought about the fact that perhaps like the doorway is like a gateway between the worlds. That maybe once the barrier is broken, like or something like that. But yeah, you're right. It's interesting that it's the only not broken thing. Although you'd think if he could use it as an entry point, he would have just done that. He wouldn't need the gates. So yeah. That's interesting. And they never explain why the clocks are upside down and they're floating and they've got like the tentacles. But I hope we're gonna get into that because if the answer is just that's Vecna's mind world and there's no other explanation, I will be sad. I really hope we're gonna get into like why is that? Why is the door there? Why did it look like that? I really hope like it has to do with time, but I hope we're gonna get into more about why that is,
Yeah, well, it's probably the answers, if there are any answers, Jasmine, it's probably going to come in that stage play that we can't see. But we'll talk more about that at the end of tonight's episode, folks. Jasmine, you have a question.
Yes. Okay, so throughout season 4, beloved character Eddie Munson wears a leather jacket and a denim vest adorned with patches and pins, featuring heavy metal bands such as Megadeth, Motorhead, Iron Maiden, Wasp, and Judas Priest. His vest also features a large Dio back patch, which was made from a genuine vintage Dio t-shirt that was donated by the estate of Ronnie James Dio, as his ex-wife, Wendy Walters, sent the crew vintage shirts and sweatshirts for them to use. Question: what was Dio's first big hit as a band? A. Holy Water. B. Rainbow in the Dark. C. Sacred Scars. D. Inferno.
D?
Did you say D or B?
D?
D. Inferno. That is incorrect.
Oh my gosh, this is rigged.
It's rigged. That one was a bit of a trick question, which I almost told you, but it was B. Rainbow in the Dark.
Oh,
Yeah, a bit of a trick.
that's really
I know, right?
that's really
We're
interesting.
Rainbow in the Dark, yeah.
Yeah, like there was a rainbow room this season, and the antagonist is in the dark, I guess.
I
Wow.
had not thought about that.
I thought it was Inferno. Like I'm pretty sure there's a song called Inferno.
So Inferno was one of their big hits, but it was not their first big hit.
Oh, okay. Okay. I see.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah. That was like a hardcore, if you're a hardcore Dio fan.
Yeah.
For all those Dio fans out there.
All right, so in season 1, the ham radio that Mr. Clark, it's a brand new ham radio that the AV Club just purchased, and Mr. Clark so excited to show it off to Mike, Dustin, and Lucas. And so there's a certain scene when they bust in to go use it, and they're all excited and all that. And so my question is, where can that ham radio in season 1 reach to? Is it A, California, B, New Zealand, C, Russia, or D, Australia?
I think it's D Australia because somebody makes a comment about kangaroos.
Yeah, it's D. Yeah, Dustin says, "Do you eat kangaroos for breakfast?" It's so cute. And Mike also talks in an Australian accent. I think he says something like "Mike Wheeler here" or something like that.
I feel like we should point out that Mr. Clark was excited to show it to Will as well, but that Will was not there that day because, as we later find out, he has gone missing. So
yes, but the ham radio was integral in finding out where he was. So
very true, very true.
And it helped Joyce make contact with him. So
it did.
Reached further than they really thought it could.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's even farther than Australia.
Yeah, the land down under.
Yes. It didn't go down under, but it did go upside down. So
Yeah.
We're geniuses. Alrighty, ready for the next question?
I am.
Okay, I feel a bit bad because I feel like.
Yeah, no, you're wiping the floor with me because I forgot all about giving like background stuff, and so I just met these questions, and I'm like, well, this seems kind of like challenging, but then I'm like, no, Jasmine. Now I'm thinking about it, like Jasmine pays attention too much to the show, so like she's gonna get this.
Yeah, I mean, it is a little bit unfair in that like A, I am very good at trivia, and B, I'm very detail oriented. Like I remember like fine details, like if I'm interested in something very, very easily. And my brain's always worked that way. So I feel like it is a little bit stacked. But nonetheless, we are having fun. So.
Yeah, it's great time. Great time. That's what it's all about.
Good.
Fun. Fun.
Yeah. Also, if you, in addition to your scores, if any of you have interesting pieces of Stranger Things trivia you'd love to see us cover in a future episode, or a piece of trivia you think is really neat or interesting that like not a lot of people might know, feel free to comment that too on the Twitter and Instagram posts for this episode as well.
Yeah, send them in. We'd love to share them.
Alrighty, so next question. The skateboard we see Max ride throughout the show is made by Madrid Skateboards, which is the same brand that Marty McFly rides in 1985's Back to the Future. Her skateboard's design, which is called Explosion, was a staple of Madrid's skateboard collection throughout the 1980s. In true fangirl fashion, Max's bedroom and school locker are decorated with lots of Madrid stickers. And of course, when season 2 premiered, Madrid partnered with Netflix to sell replicas of Max's skateboard as well as other designs inspired by the show. Question: what kind of Madrid skateboard did Marty McFly ride? A. Santa Cruz. B. Shaman. C. Valterra. D. Explosion.
Feel like it's either
I'll give
C
you a
or
hint.
D. Okay.
I'll give you a hint.
Okay.
These are all real skateboard designs that Madrid makes. I don't know if that actually helps, but so you said C or D, right?
Yeah, I feel like it's either C or D.
Okay. Final answer?
I'm gonna go with C.
You are correct.
Oh my gosh, I actually got one. Wow.
C. Valterra.
Ah, this is great. I'm not going to go home a complete loser. That's a moral victory.
Yes. And I picked ones that were like popular like in the 80s, that are part of their collection that they reissued when Stranger Things came out. So this is for all you skateboard fans out there, or Back to the Future fans, or Max fans. It was actually really fun. I did a lot of research on this question and looking at the different designs and stuff, and how it's really cool these designs that were like so popular in the 80s got this big, they obviously got this, very popular skateboard company, got this huge boost from Back to the Future, got another big boost from, when Stranger Things 2 came out. I mean, not that they needed it, like it's a major skateboard company, but it's really cool that these are actual designs and they got this second life, and it's really cool that that they were able to do that, and they're cool skateboards. So that is Back to the Future Max Madrid trivia for all of you.
Awesome. Yay. All right. So we know that Vecna's clock very big in season 4. Heck, it might be big in season 5. It's the first we've really, well, actually, there since season 4's come out, there's been big, trying to make connections of, oh, we heard the clock throughout, and yeah, we heard a lot of ticking noises and clock sounds, but in terms of like the actual grandfather clock that Vecna uses, season 4 is like the first time that we've actually heard this particular one. So, question: how many times does Vecna's clock chime? Is it A, 1, B, 4, C, 10, or D, 5?
I'm going to go with 5. Yeah, I'm going to go with 5. I'm going to go with it chimes 5 times.
Okay, so no, that is incorrect, Jasmine. It chimes 4 times. As Max pointed out in episode 3, she said it chimes exactly 4 times while you're having a vision.
Alrighty, ready for the next question?
I am.
Alrighty. So, in season 4, chapter 6, The Dive, Steve tells the group that he needs to be the one to check out Watergate because he's the most qualified, explaining he was co-captain of the Hawkins High swim team for 3 years and is a certified lifeguard. This is a callback to a plot that was originally supposed to be a part of season 1. Instead of showing Steve as a star basketball player at practice, like we see in season 2, he was supposed to be a star swimmer at a swim meet. Thinking he would be shown in an 80s Speedo, Joe Keery paid for lessons and trained for 6 weeks prior to the start of filming to get into shape for the role. However, when he arrived on set for the first time, he was told that the swim meet plot had been cut. Luckily for us, they decided to return to this plot in season 4. Now, for long-time listeners, you will know that I actually talked about this in a previous episode. So if you are caught up on our previous episodes, and if Ashley remembers me talking about this, you will get it right, and Ashley will get it right. So, here we go. Question. Why did Steve being a swimmer have to be cut from season 1? A. Joe Carey wasn't in good enough shape. B. They ran out of time in the story. Or C. They couldn't get the pool for filming.
I just like to point out to everyone, if I get this question wrong, I have so many responsibilities for this podcast, like you wouldn't believe. So I probably did not hear Jasmine talk about this. But if I get it right, then I'll have listened. I think it was A.
That is incorrect.
Oh my gosh.
It is C. They couldn't get the pool for filming.
Oh, okay. Well, see, everyone, I have so many responsibilities for this podcast and our parent company. Okay, I'm, like the CEO. Like I have the little people do all this stuff for me. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. No, I just really did not. I probably really don't remember you saying that, but it's just a lesson for me. I got to go back and re-listen to the episodes.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So yeah, they couldn't get the pool for filming, and it's not clear if that was for budgetary reasons, that they couldn't afford the pool or the pool wasn't available. It's unclear why they couldn't get the pool for filming. And jump forward to season 4, not only do they have helicopter money, but they have created an entire artificial lake money. So,
Yeah.
just how
Budget.
much,
Budget.
yeah, budget, how much, things have changed.
Yeah,
And of course, gee,
oh, sorry.
no, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, of course we know in season 3, Hawkins has a community pool, so they could have used that for their swim meets. So yeah, it's budget.
Yeah, I mean, by season 3, they obviously had community pool money. Like they just didn't have, again, we don't know if the pool wasn't available or if there was budget. You know what I mean? They could have had the budget and just the local pool was not available. Like it's not available, it's not available. You know what I mean? Like you're not
Yeah.
you can't knock the real swim team so you can film a fake swim team.
Yeah.
So somewhere out there, there's a swim team that went to the championships, the finals. I don't know what the final things are called in swim meets. If somebody knows, please let us know. But somebody out there went to finals and they instead of Steve Harrington. So good for you guys. Whoever had the pool.
All right, so this next question, I mean, Jasmine, you will most definitely get this one right. I'm just gonna lay it out there. Okay, so where does Argyle work? Like, what type of place does he work? Not the name of the place that he works, but what type of place does he work? A deli, B, a theme park, C, a pizza restaurant, or D, a roller rink?
That would be C, a pizza restaurant.
Yeah, you got it right.
Okay.
I don't know why you had to ask. You know you got it right.
Yeah, but that's the point. Okay, are you ready for the next question?
I am. Maybe I can keep off the mute button.
Yeah, keep off the mute button. Okay, so in season 1, Jonathan failed to make sure Will came home the night he disappeared because he was working late. While his job during this time is never stated in the show, it can be assumed he quit this job following the first season, as his employment there is not mentioned in season 2. In season 3, he begins working as an intern at the Hawkins Post, but is fired along with Nancy in chapter 4 of the Sauna Test. At the start of season 4, he is presumed to be unemployed, as a job is not mentioned, and we see that his car is broken down and has been out of commission for quite some time. As most superfans will know, before it became Stranger Things, the show was originally called Montauk, and the pilot script can be found online. Question. According to the Montauk script, Where does Jonathan work in season 1? So for those of you who read the script, you will know the answer to this. A, the Hawkins Post. B, Surfer Boy Pizza. C, Scoops Ahoy. D, the Hawk Theater.
D.
You are correct.
Yay! Well, I like and speaking of that, like our first episode of this podcast ever, it was just me, okay, and we were actually at that time called Through the Ham Radio Podcast. I recorded. I did a script reading of the script for Montauk. So if you don't want to go and read it for yourselves, please, go listen to it. I really enjoyed that script, and it's completely different from The Vanishing of Will Byers. I can tell you that. Like there's some elements to it that are similar, but it's a little bit darker, and there's some things in there that I kind of hope make a little bit of an appearance in season 5. But yeah, I encourage everyone you go listen to that episode, or you can, like Jasmine said, go look it up online, read it for yourself. It's available out there. But yeah, I knew he worked at the theater in that script, and also the other jobs didn't come on till later. So yeah.
An interesting fact about that. So in the Montauk script, as Ashley said, he's listed as working at the movie theater. It doesn't become the Hawk Theater until it becomes Stranger Things.
Right, because the town wasn't called Hawkins in the script. It's literally at Montauk, New York, which is a real place. So, but you should look that up too, and the Montauk Project, because a lot of Stranger Things it's based on Montauk. And this is not a trivia question, but for those of you who may not know, well, obviously Stranger Things was going to be Montauk, but they changed it to Hawkins, Indiana, because they could not get something, with the filming and stuff up there in Long Island on Montauk. That's why it was moved. But I actually like the change in them having a fictional town and stuff. I think it's really cool. While also paying homage to Montauk and bringing light to what happened there, or what allegedly happened in the Montauk project. Some of that stuff is real. Some of it's Stranger Things. So my last multiple choice question is about Barbara. What is Barb's last name? A. Holland, B. Howard, C. Hadley, or D. Hollingsworth?
That would be Holland.
Correct. Again, I thought maybe if I put a bunch of H's in there, it would trip you up, Jasmine.
Nope. I'm pretty hard to trip, I must say.
Yeah, I know. I got that.
Alrighty, let's do the next question. So, it's well known that the Duffer Brothers are huge Stephen King fans, and that his novels and their adaptations have had a huge influence on the show, and that King himself is a fan of the show. As revealed in season 2, when Joyce starts dating beloved character Bob Newby, that he grew up in Hawkins and attended Hawkins High School with Joyce and Hopkins. He also spent time in Maine, where his parents now reside. This is a direct reference to the fact that most of King's novels are set in Maine, where he has lived for most of his life. Bob also tells Will about his childhood fear of clowns and how they haunted his dreams, which is a reference to King's 1986 horror novel It, which is also set in Maine. Question: how many adaptations of It have there been to date? Now keep in mind, this is to date of our recording, which is taking place June of 2023. So if you listen to recording in the future, the number could change. It's as of now. So how many adaptations to date have there been? 4 adaptations. B, 6 adaptations. C, 2 adaptations. D, 3 adaptations.
A. 4.
You are correct.
Yay. Well, I knew the newer ones 2 parts, and so are the original ones from the early 90s, which I know too they're also making a prequel series. It's supposed to come out. They're actually filming in Canada. I heard it's supposed to be called Dairy. So by that point, it will have been five. Well, not really of the original book, but of the It story.
That's interesting. I didn't know they were doing a prequel series, although it does make sense to film up here. You'd have landscapes that would look similar to Maine that would be a lot cheaper to film in and less people. So I could definitely see why they'd film it up here.
Yeah, it seems really interesting. You should check
Yeah,
it
that
out.
does seem interesting.
Yeah.
And as many Stranger Things fans will know, Finn Wolfhard starred in one of the adaptations that came out, the one of the more recent ones, I believe.
Yeah, I think he was in the first one.
Yeah, when they're little kids. I don't know. You may have seen this already, Ashley, but so we were watching. I think when we were preparing to watch season 4, my friend that I watched with, Amy, we were chatting. She's a big King fan. She's read a lot of novels, seen a lot of the movies, and we were chatting about it. And we were chatting about the Bob storyline in season 2, and she's read it. And we're chatting, and so as we're talking about it, so basically, like, she's like, yeah, the implication there, after she's explained the whole plot and everything, she's like, yeah, the implication there is that Bob, so that it the clown was running around in Maine, and that Bob experienced it, but he didn't he thought it was a dream. He didn't realize it was real, and that he narrowly escaped it. Like, that's the implication there, that Bob narrowly escaped it. It was advice to Will, like, if the clown goes away because of the events of the novel, not because Bob tells it to go away. And likewise, when Will tells the mind flayer to go away, it does not go away, it gets him. So basically, I mean, Bob had no way of knowing his advice was bad, because to him, he said, he stood up to it and it went away. In reality, a bunch of kids, not unlike Will, you know, um, wind up dealing with it, and that's why Bob does not die. um, but later does die in season 2 of Stranger Things. So we were chatting about how, like, basically, if that had not happened, the family would have moved to Maine and basically, like, become like a stranger, not stranger, like a Stephen King novel, basically.
Yeah, basically.
had had Bob not died. So I just thought that was, like, when she told me that, I was like, oh, so basically, like, that's what they're saying. It's like, yeah, basically. And
Yeah.
then she was laughing later in season 4 when I didn't catch this again because I haven't read it. And I would never see the movies, they're far too horror scary for me. But so the part when they're in the basement and Justin is talking about their theory about Vecna, and Steve makes some comment about, like, so what? He comes back and kills, teenagers, this many years and then goes dormant. Like, no, I don't buy it. And how ridiculous that is. Amy's laughing, and I'm like, why are you laughing? And she's like, that's literally the plot of it. The amount of time they just mentioned, that's what
Yeah.
It the Clown does.
Yeah.
They're literally making fun of, like, the absurdity of it. Like, in a loving way, like, they're obviously huge fans, but she's like, yeah, like, that's literally the plot.
Yeah. And also the Duffer Brothers campaigned really hard to direct the new It movies when it came out. But they were unfortunately for them denied, and that's when they were like, well, I guess we'll just go make our own version. And if it hadn't have been for that rejection, we probably would not have Stranger Things today, or at least not as we know it. So rejection, just goes to show you, sometimes rejection is tough, it hurts, but sometimes it can be a good thing. So my first true or false question is, Vecna believes humans are superior and deserve nothing but puppies and happiness in life. True or false?
That would be false.
Hey. Well, I mean, if anyone out there picked true, I think you could get half credit for that, because Vecna, or at least Henry Creel, believes he is superior, and I think there is yet a still a human within inside him under all that monstery badness. So if you put true, you can still get a little credit for that, but the answer is indeed false.
So my last question is, well, I guess you have 11. But my last question is also kind of like a silly one, and that the answer is similarly obvious, or at least I hope it is. I decided to kind of throw in a bonus point here. I didn't realize you were going to need it quite so badly, to be honest.
Oh, thanks.
Sometimes I forget not everyone has the mind for detail and trivia that I do. So that's not a personal job. Sometimes I forget that because like Amy, just anybody out there who's like, man, I'm not doing so well. I didn't get very many. Like Amy will repeatedly like ask me and be like, wait, what's the timeline on this? I feel like I missed that. Like, what are we doing here? No, this happened. Yeah, what happened to so and so? So you're not the only one, and she's just as big a fan as I am. So
Well, that's
everyone's brain
okay.
works differently.
That's okay, Jasmine, because once we're done here, I'm docking your pay from 0 to negative.
I've got it to negative pay.
Yes,
Oh. All right, you ready for the question?
I am.
Okay. In the original pilot script, Mike had a crush on his classmate Jennifer Hayes, who is described as being one of the popular girls at Hawkins Middle School. In season 1, chapter 5, The Flea and the Acrobat, when the party attends Will's funeral, they take notice of Jennifer crying. They are excited to tell Will about this when they visit him in the hospital in chapter 8, The Upside Down, but Will appears disinterested and is unmoved by Jennifer's show of affection. In seasons 3 and 4, we learn more about Will's attitude towards girls, dating, and having a girlfriend. Question: why is Will not interested in Jennifer? A. She once stole his crayons in elementary school. B. He thinks she smells bad. C. He knows Mike has a huge crush on her. D. Will is gay and in love with Mike.
It's a very loaded question, Jasmine. I mean, I know it's D in my heart. Like I know it's D. But at this point in season 1, we don't know that. So I think it's A.
Okay, clarification point. I'm going by what we know by the end of season 4.
Oh, well, it's
That
D. It's
you.
definitely D.
Correct.
Yay, I finally got one by default.
You're going by default. No, you had the right answer. I mean, she could have stolen his crayons. It's just never mentioned that she steals his crayons. So, for all we know, originally in the pilot script, Mike had a crush on her. So that was originally true. But for Montauk, it's true, not for Stranger Things.
Yeah.
We don't know if she smells bad. We don't know if she stole his crayons. She could have, but it's never mentioned. So we just don't know.
Yeah. I wish we could have seen her again, at least, once or
I kind
love
of
triangle between Mike and 11. Like that would have been
no.
like a lot more interesting. Even though 11 probably wouldn't have really understood, and before she lost her powers, probably would have killed the girl. But I mean, well, she did get jealous of Max that one time from like lack of communication. But I'm talking like a real, true, Mike caught in the middle thing. Headcanon wise, I'd love to see that. But
Yeah,
it's a fantasy.
I'd actually like to see Jennifer make a comeback in season 5, like because they presumably all still attend the same high school. So
yeah, and the
I'd
two
love,
bullies from season 1 too.
yeah, I'd honestly love to see that, to see if she still has a crush on him. Like I'd love to see him try to navigate that. And I mean, if long-time listeners will know about my well, that's my theory, but more my hope for season 5 that they're going to introduce a love interest for Will. And I think it'd be super interesting to have it play out something like, how in season 4, Robin's into Vicky, but then we realize she has a boyfriend, and then you find out that what the story is with that, and then they end the season, kind of on the road to being together. Not that exact plot, but I'd love to see something like, they introduce a love interest for Will, and that's moving forward, and we see him, Mike working to repair their friendship, and Elle, and how that affects his relationship with Elle, and and then we find out that like, oh yeah, and then Jennifer Hayes still has feelings for him, and Will trying to navigate that while not outing himself. Like, I think that could be an interesting plot if they did something like that. I think it could be interesting if done right. So there are many possibilities. Would you like to give me your 11th question?
Yes. Well, I actually have 2 left. So this is number 10.
All right, because we're going back and forth. Okay, so this should be 10.
Yeah. So, true or false? The Nina Project is located in Nevada.
This feels like a trick question, but I'm gonna go with true.
Yes. It's in the
Okay.
desert in Nevada. Somewhere in Nevada. We don't know. I don't think we know specifically where, but the coordinates. It's in Nevada, probably near where Dr. Owens lives, I would think. And then the 11th and final question. Will Byers went missing on November 6th, 1984. True or false?
Sorry, a bunch of my stuff just rolled onto the floor. Okay, so you said 1984?
Yeah.
Okay, let me do the math on this. Well, we've had 4 seasons, and we're in 1986 in season 4. So we have 86, 85, 84. No, it's gotta be false. It's gotta be 1983 that he went missing.
Yes. Well,
Ah!
the question is false. Yeah, you got that right. The question is false. But you also, yeah, he went missing on November 6th, 1983, which this year on Stranger Things Day, which is November 6th, for those who don't know, it will have been, if this were real life, 40 years since that happened. So I really hope they knock it out of the park this year and do something really special for that anniversary.
Ooh, I hadn't thought about that, but yeah. Yeah. Oof.
Yeah. Well, thanks for playing Stranger
We should tally
Things
up the scores, though. We should
trivia.
tally up the scores.
Well, we don't need to do that. I think we know what the scores are.
We'll
You
do
only
anyway.
missed 2. I missed
Okay.
10.
Alright, we'll do it anyway. Okay, well, they're not as off as we thought, because I got 9 and you got 4.5.
Oh, wow. My favorite number. My favorite number.
I mean, you had one more question than I did, so I feel like I could give you maybe an extra point there, because our questions were off, so it was a little bit rigged in my favor, unintentionally. So we give you one more point. That's 5.5.
Yay. Okay, I'm satisfied. All right, so everyone, thank you for playing this round of trivia with us today. Like we said earlier, please comment on our Twitter and our Instagram pages and when we make the post about this episode, your answers, and then whoever wins will be in for some super cool prizes. But we do have two quick things we kind of want to discuss because it's the latest and the greatest of I guess Stranger Things news, and that being the Stranger Things play, and also Tadum this year will be on June 17th instead of September. And apparently there's going to be something about Stranger Things. So I think real quick, me and Jasmine will talk about Tadum, and then we'll get into the play, and then we'll get you guys out of here. So, Jasmine, do you have any big expectations for Tadum as it regards Stranger Things?
I don't know if I have big expectations. I was thinking about how it was last year, and I remember that there was I think there was a little bit of like a quiz thing with some of the cast, which I actually did better on than the cast, because I mean they're in it, like they're not sitting at home studying this, you know what I mean? So I remember that. So I think we're gonna get some cool stuff with the cast because they do that every year. It would be nice to get like a little bit of a teaser trailer, maybe. I don't know if we will. I mean, I could see them doing something like, how before season 4 dropped, before we got like even like a teaser trailer or like a trailer, we do that little thing with the 4 with the vines on it.
Yeah, yeah.
Something like that I could see them doing, because they could whip that up. It would be cool to get another episode title. I don't know if we will though, or maybe even just some dates for when we might expect to see it, or when filming will start. Although that's dependent on the writer's strike, so I might not have that information. So that's kind of what I'm expecting. I'm expecting the high expectations for me are Stranger Things Day. I think we'll get some stuff at Tadum, but not a whole lot in comparison. What do you think?
Yeah, my expectations are like to the floor. And that's like really every year to dumb. I'm not I'm not really expecting anything big. I think like you said, if there is anything even remotely Stranger Things 5 related, it would be a graphic like a little teaser trailer thing like they did for season 4. I think that would be pretty cool. Or maybe even hopefully they just, release another episode title. I think that would be pretty awesome. I think whatever it is though, it's obviously something that has been pre-recorded. Uh I don't think it's live. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm hoping for. Now what we might actually get again could be a rehash of something in season 4 or you know, quiz thing, something like that. But definitely hope for at least something, some content related. I've also heard, uh, things might be about the play. I really hope not, uh, and I don't think it really will be because, from what I understand, Netflix is not really involved with the stage play. So I don't think it'd be like that. But I definitely think something from the art department would, I think, be doable because you don't really have to write anything for that, and typically pre-production stuff like the art department, wardrobe, they get going pretty fast even during the writing process. So that's what I'm hoping for. But I'm keeping my expectations very low, so I'm not disappointed.
Yeah, I get that, and I think you're right. I think whatever it is, I mean, if you look at the footage from last year, it's obviously pre-recorded. Like I kind of figured that they do when Netflix to dub is, recorded. It's probably okay. They kind of see what their top shows are. You know what I mean? Like ahead of
Hmm.
schedule, and then they look at the numbers. They look at what's the most popular, and then they get those actors together and they film some content on the soundstage. And there's even times I think where most of the actors are in one place and one or two actors of that cast weren't. So I mean, that even goes to show you that, like, okay, if they were filming it live, they'd all be together, but they're not because, that actor had to go to another project. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, I definitely think they probably, once Stranger Things 4 probably wrapped, they probably filmed something. Also because the actors will look different. Like, that's the other thing people have to think about is that, like, well, the actors are going to look different as they take different roles in the interim. So that's another reason they would pre-record because, like, well, you look similar to your character now, whereas people you would expect you to look, you might not look like that 3 months from now. We have to do this now. So I think it's interesting that they've bumped it up. You know, I think that's
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
And yeah, I agree. It'd be nice to see some stuff with the cast, like we've talked about, but at the same time, yeah, expectations are low. And I agree. I don't think they're going to do stuff about the play. I hope not, because as we've talked about, if it's not going to be available like through Netflix globally, which originally I think we thought it was going to be like streamed on the service, if they're not going to do that, then there's no real incentive for Netflix there. And I mean, quite frankly, I'm not tuning into to Dom to see additional things. I'm tuning in for, okay, well, what's coming up with my favorite shows? And I'm really excited for Dom this year because there's a number of shows that, like last year, I only really recognized Stranger Things. I like skipped over everything else. Apart from I think some stuff from Millie Bobby Brown. But this year, there's Stranger Things, there's Wednesday, there's Heartstopper, there's Bridgerton. There's a whole bunch of things that I'm excited about. So I'm actually really excited for Tudum this year.
Yep. And I'll be tuning in. I'm sure Jasmine will as well. But segue a little bit to the play. I don't know why. Uh I find it, necessary to really talk about this. But we did, they dropped a little video teaser thing within the last week, and it featured a black cat, a blood moon, a black crow, and church with what looked like to be either a young girl or a young woman or a woman looking out of the window, and very cryptic. And Jasmine and I were not going to really get into what we really think it really all means. I think it really connects probably to Henry's powers. Some incident maybe happened with the cat or the crow or something like that. And I don't like to get off on tangents because it's really not really that important. But again, I just and they keep confirming, by the way, that this play is canon. I feel like, if this play is canon, then the stuff that is in this play, it should be in the show, or they should at least make it accessible to, the masses globally, or even mention it in season 5. Like, I hope they at least do that, because I mean, I just think, like, it is, I think, so, absent-minded of them to put on a play that is supposed to be canon and is supposed to be key to the ending. And I'm not saying, like, what's the word? Criticizing them for, using different mediums to tell the story. Like, I think that's great. But for them to be like, yeah, if unless you can afford the airfare and accommodations to fly out to London and stay here for at least a week, and oh yeah, take a week off from your job, and not to mention to pay for expensive tickets to come see this play, you're not going to watch this play. And yeah, we're not, going to be bringing it to the States anytime soon, which, even if they did, it would be in New York, which again, you'd have to do the same thing, depending on where you live, as you would for London. And it just blows my mind that that's what happened. I mean, you know, do you, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I agree. I think if they, if it's one of those things that, like, with like the Marvel Cinematic Universe, where like the shows and the movies feed into each other, if in that case you can access that stuff globally. Whereas with this, you can only access it if you're in the UK or like Europe. Like you can, get there easily. I mean, of course, other people can fly, but it's really only super accessible to people in Europe. So I agree. I mean, I think if they're going to be, if it's that critical, if it's really is canon, then it should be, it should either have a touring production attached to it, or it should be like, New York, London, like the major theater centers, you know, in each country, right? Or even just the major ones, like even just, New York and London would be an improvement. But really, I mean, Netflix has a global audience and Stranger
Yeah.
Things has a global audience. So to limit it only to London, like, I don't really see the rationale behind that, especially since it's an American show. Like, if it was a British show, I could see it. But seeing as it is an American show, it's odd to me they did London, not New York. And I think that has a lot to do with the people involved with the project. And I've spoken on this before, but a lot of them are the same people that were involved with Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, which is all I'm going to say about that. Um, but I think it has more to do with who's involved and who approached them potentially about it. Because it's giving me the vibe of this weird, they say it's canon, but it's not really canon, kind of offshoot thing that, if you're lucky enough to see it, great, but if you're not, I hope to as well, that because one thing that does give me hope is because they know that not everyone's going to be able to see it. And we haven't gotten broadcast information or like a streaming version of the information that we thought we were going to get. That whatever is in the play, if it's critical to the story, if it really is canon, will be included in season 5. Like the key points will be included in season 5. I hope so, because otherwise, like, if it's not canon, what's the point? And if it is canon,
Yeah.
that information needs to be in season 5 because we don't all live in London.
Exactly. Or can afford to go to London, you know? I think, I mean, and too, like, people that that are fortunate enough to go watch this, they're gonna spoil it. I mean, they're gonna put it on the internet, so at least we'll get some insider info. Even though they're not supposed to do that, they're going to do that. But yeah, I think, look, if it really is canon and it's so important, I mean, make it available to everybody, or at least have it be referenced in season 5. That's all I'm gonna say on that front. So again, thank you everyone for listening to today's episode and playing trivia with us. Even though I lost in a very bitter defeat, it was still so much fun playing trivia. And Jasmine is going to get us out of here. Jasmine,
All right, everyone. Thank you for listening to this episode of Ham Radio, a Stranger Things podcast. Please join us next time. Same dial, same time.
over and out.
Over and out.